Alright, it's Monday morning out by Barron's, Alberta, and I'm just checking out my soybean field. This is the most advanced field of soybeans that I have. So just talking about desiccation timing, you can see here we've had substantial leaf drop. There's not too many plants that still have leaves on them. So for desiccation timing, that's what you want. You want almost complete leaf drop. And you also want the pods to be turned pretty much all the way up. So these ones still have a little bit of green, but you get midway down and we're good. So you want 80 to 90% of the pods should be turned brown. So this plant would be okay. You know, most of these are going to be ideal timing, but plants like this would be not quite far enough along, so you have to figure out the proportion of them to the main crop. So these really green pods, if we get the weather that's forecast for, you know, Friday, which is probably when you're going to be seeing this, Friday or Saturday, we're supposed to be getting freezing temperatures and snow. And if that's the case, any that are still this green are likely going to have very shriveled seeds, and they'll end up being wrinkled and shrunken, and they can be a downgrading factor if they're higher than, I think it was about 3%. It'll also affect germination, but for the most part nobody's going to be reseeding these. You'll be buying new seed. So this field is basically ready for desiccation this week, and for that you can use Reglone, you can use Heat, or you can use AIM, and all three will do a pretty good job. We're just trying to kind of hurry things along before we have snow on the ground. Alright, here's the canola field that just got straight cut. Very little for weeds here, so our main concern would be volunteer canola for next year. You can spray something like Pre-Pass or Express Pro this time of the year to help with control on that into the spring. And the other thing you can do is you can run a harrow over this to try to incorporate any seed that's sitting on the surface and get it to germinate now, and that will, you know, result in it getting killed by frost over the winter, so you won't have quite so much of a dense canola stand in the spring to take care of. Alright, here's some winter wheat that's coming up. This is in potato stubble, and this was seeded by broadcasting the seed onto the potato crop before the potatoes were harvested, and that allows the seed to be worked in. So the depth is a little all over the place. Some of it's right on the surface, some of it's 3 inches deep, but it is coming up really well and it's looking really good. You will notice that this seed here is not treated, and normally this would be a pretty bad idea in potato stubble due to the risk of wireworm. But in this case, because it's being spread before the potatoes are harvested, you cannot use treated seed because it runs the risk of treated seed being found in a delivery of potatoes. And treated seed is a big no-no when it comes to delivering food. Alright, so here we got our two different varieties of soybeans, and you can see there's quite a difference between them now. On the left side of the corn plants here, we have the Syngenta M2s. And you can see we got substantially better leaf drop in here. They're a little bit more advanced, probably a couple days ahead, whereas the Pioneer hybrid stuff, we actually have very little leaf drop in there. They're turning, but they're not really dropping, and we have way more green pods. So if we do get some severe weather and some frost this weekend, it might not fare so well for the Pioneer hybrid. Alright, I'm harvesting one of my corn trials today. So what I did was I just walked into the plot and basically took 5 cobs in a row of the middle row, and just counting the kernels on them. So here we got this is control, humic acid, humic plus catalyst. Here's the Nature's Aid system, ASLE system, and the Lignojoule system. Off the bat, I'd say they're all fairly even. Although this guy got hurt because we got a cob that the end didn't fertilize on. So I got all the numbers written down, and we'll get this all calculated out one day when there's a snow or a rain day. But for now, that's that. And I'll put all the results in a spreadsheet and get her figured out later. I still have one more corn trial to do yet. Here's a good weed for you this week. Don't often see this tall, but this is barnyard grass, which is basically a type of millet. So it has very small seeds. And in this case, it's in a cornfield, and it's doing very well. Just checking out a field of canola over by Highway 22. This is some late seeded canola, and looks like we got a bit of a squall moving in off the mountains here. Probably going to see some rain here in the next few minutes. But the canola's not quite ready. Some plants are nice and mature, but quite a lot of them are still 20 to 30% color change, so it's not really ready yet. And that's kind of risky because of our weekend forecast for, you know, in this area, it might be -10. And if there's still a lot of greens in there, that's going to result in some shriveled up seeds on the top, or some locked in greens where the color will never change. And that can be a significant downgrading factor in canola. Here's a weed you don't typically see in fields around Lethbridge area. Wild strawberries. Just checking out some winter wheat that just got seeded here a few days ago, and you can see we're starting to see the first little bits of sprouting here already. So we're starting to germinate here, and this field has been treated with Focus pre-emergent. So that's going to be great. That's going to give us some residual control on downy Japanese brome, suppression of wild oats, kochia, and buckwheat right out into spring. So for those of you that are seeding winter wheat acres, really consider Focus for your pre-plant, or even, you know, post-seeding within 3 days. It's an excellent product for winter wheat. Alright, I'm checking out the oat fields by Colehurst today. This is the rye fields that got reseeded into oats, and they're just starting to come into milk stage here. They're just starting to fill, but I think we're going to go ahead and probably knock these down this week as much as we can. Anyways, there's 5 quarters, so we'll see how much time we have before the weekend. But with the forecast of snow and sub-zero temperatures, these might be flat as a pancake if we don't get them swathed before the weekend. Here we got some fall rye going in the ground. This is the Guitano hybrid rye, and we're just about an inch deep, which will give us fairly fast germination and emergence. This is on irrigation, so we should have time to get it watered, or wait for the weekend forecast to take care of that for us anyways. So hopefully this still stays underground until after the sub-zero weather is passed on the weekend, and it'll be just fine. Here's a field. This is going to be lentils next year. Right now we just got some volunteer barley in here. There's not too much, but this field we have had a problem with wild oats in here, so I think we're going to be spraying this fall with the 33 acre rate of Focus, which is going to give us some really good residual activity on the wild oats, and yeah, should be great. Focus is an excellent fall burn option for fields that are going into lentils for next year. Add some glyphosate to it, burn off your volunteer barley, whatever else you got, and the Focus is going to really suppress those wild oats the next year. If you want to get some wild oats checked for resistance testing, this is a good time while you're doing your last bits of harvesting. If you got patches of wild oats like this that have been chopped out of a field, then you should be trying to get the most mature seed you can out of some of these plants. You don't want anything too wet. Put it in a paper bag, bring it in, and we could send it off for analysis. Usually you won't have results until June of next year. Here's a new weed for you today. This is marsh cudweed. There's a couple different types of cudweed. I'm pretty sure this one is marsh. Generally not really a problem. It's just in these like low-lying slough patches here. And as far as I know, you won't even find this listed as a weed to control in the Blue Book. It's really not much of a problem other than in these few limited areas, but you'll never have a problem with it in crop. Just checking out some corn by Lethbridge. This is the Pioneer 58 AM. You can almost always tell Pioneer by how red that cob is inside. But we got really good starch formation in here. They're pretty much, 50% or more. And we're at dent in here, so we're at a good timing for it to start drying down with the frost we're supposed to get over the weekend. We're still pretty green in here right now. We got really good plant health, so the moisture is probably, at least 75-80% in here at the moment. So it'll be good for this to dry down a little bit, and we'll be in here silaging next week. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.